Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hi there and welcome to New Life Live. Glad you're here with me, and I'm here with Marc Cameron. Hello, Marc.
Hey, Steve. Hey, Alice.
And Dr. Alice Benton.
Gentlemen, hello.
Dr. Alice Benton is co-author of Understanding and Loving Your Child in a Screen-Saturated World. Been doing a lot of interviews on that, and people really are grateful when we point out that just limiting time isn't the answer, nor is, well, I don't really care what they do on the internet, but it's limiting and engaging with your child on finding apps that they can use to help with homework or games that you can play with them versus it's evil, I don't want to look at it kind of thing.
Steve,
Yeah.
I was just looking at some recent research that added to that premise of the book, that teenagers are less well-adjusted if they're not allowed to do any texting, any gaming, or any television watching, and their happiness is lower, versus those that are allowed around an hour show a lot higher happiness level and are more well-adjusted.
Yeah, it's just that it's more difficult to limit and engage than just to say, no, you're not going to ever look at anything online. And it's really tough. And we've dealt with it with a 17-year-old. Now we have a 14-year-old. So we're in the thick of it. But the book has great answers, and you can get it by calling 1-800-NEW-LIFE. You know, both of you guys are well acquainted with addiction. And addiction doesn't start with one drink or whatever, but for some people, that is the beginning of an addictive process, not everybody. And why do you think it is that some move forward in the progression of addiction and some don't? What do you think?
Well, it always starts somewhere, addiction, and I think really addictions are covering something up inside of us, right? It's an emotional wound that we are either distracting or numbing from, and we find a vice that helps us not think about that. I think a good way to assess whether you have an addiction or not, I like to think of the 4 C's, right? If we have cravings and withdrawals, if we struggle to control our compulsions, if we have concealing behaviors, and if we have continued use when it's an unwanted behavior or in discovery and others express concern.
I agree that your 4 C's are right on track. Because if it wasn't a problem, why would you need to control it or conceal it? Yeah. Alice, what do you think?
I think the tipping point tends to be folks that are open to the feedback of loved ones tend to be less vulnerable to addiction, because when loved ones start to point out their concern, if you can hear the concern and are willing to look at truth and make adjustments, you're less likely to fall into that trap of addiction. But most of us, and I've certainly done this, we get stuck in justifying and minimizing. It's not as bad as you're saying it is. And that blindness leads us deeper into addiction.
Yeah. You know, I've had many dependencies and addictions. There's a big difference between some kind of unhealthy dependency and addiction. Addiction becomes a force, and it transforms a problem that you might be having into the problem having you. It's like it's got a life and a force of its own. And if that's who you are, we can help you. We've got Every Man's Battle and so many other things that could help you reverse that process and enter into a recovery program that doesn't just have you stop something, but to become the person God wants you to become. If you want to join us on the program, 1-800-229-3000.
My girlfriends and I have been searching for so long to try to find an event to attend.
Lumina is a new women's conference designed to inspire your faith, so you can lead and live confidently from God's Word.
It was nice to come here and just realign myself with who God says He is in my life.
The Lumina Conference is a 2-day experience. 1 full day of worship and teaching in Museum of the Bible's World Stage Theater, and a half-day guided tour through Museum of the Bible.
You are literally immersed in the Word of God. You can walk through the Old Testament. You can walk through the New Testament.
Lumina is for women of all generations, cultures, and denominations. It's a great place to gather with women from your church and community.
If you want some fellowship and you want to be strengthened, this is the place you want to be.
This year's Lumina Conference is October 27th and 28th in Washington, D.C.
It was absolutely life-changing.
For more information, go to luminawomen.org.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back. Steve Arterburn here, and would love to help you. You know, we have the Every Man's Battle program. We have Life Recovery program. And if you need help with either a Christ-centered recovery program, it's 1-800-NEW-LIFE. To join us here, it's 1-800-229-3000. And we're going to go to Mary, and she's calling from Denver, Colorado. Hello, Mary. How are you today? You watch us on YouTube, and I love that. How's life today?
We're good. Thank you for taking my call today. I love you guys.
Certainly. Thank you. So how can we help you?
Well, I have a daughter that lives with me and grandchildren, and Mama's had a lot of trauma in her life, and so she does some, I guess, drugs and gummies and marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave my granddaughter that's 15, she gave her some marijuana gummies this past weekend to calm down because there's just a lot of stuff that's happening in the house. So I'm like, okay, so and the gummies came, I believe, from the health food store. So I'm like,
That's one of the joys of living in Colorado, the legality of all of that stuff and the availability. But the big thing here, I didn't mean joy. Actually, I was being sarcastic there. The big thing here is what do you do now that your daughter introduced her daughter to something that every study we've ever seen says is extremely, extremely bad for a teenager's brain, to say the least. But we know that. That's the question. So what's your question for us?
I didn't know that.
Oh, every study, the developing teenage brain, the last thing it needs is marijuana. And it does a lot of things to the developing brain, but one of the things it does is it produces a brain that wants a way out or wants relief from any kind of discomfort or pain, rather than at an early age learning to accept discomfort, figure out a way to work through that, and see that I can come out on the other side okay, rather than some kind of mood-altering chemical. But what is your question for us? What were you wanting to hear from us?
So I'm not sure what route to follow because she's also cutting herself.
Mm-hmm.
And my granddaughter, and I'm like, well, do I let the authorities know? Do I let DCF know?
Mary, which one is cutting?
My 15-year-old.
Oh, how frightening for you and for your daughter. And I can understand your daughter's trying to intervene with the coping that she uses to help calm herself down.
Yep.
Mary, what has been your stance on substance use for your daughter herself while she's been living in your home?
I don't want her to do it. I've told her, no, that's not allowed in my home. But she got some gummies at a health food store. I didn't know she was still, well, the little bit's legal.
So you've had a clear stance. She breaks your rule, but you have a clear stance. And she hid it with the gummy use. And is her father in the home, and is he helping manage this situation with you?
Oh, no. Single parent.
That makes it even that much more difficult for you. Do you think your daughter is open? We were just talking about feedback and addiction. Do you think your daughter is open to looking for other forms of help for herself and her daughter other than marijuana?
That's what she uses.
So I'm wondering if you were to say something to her, Mary, like, I get it. Your daughter was upset. You know, you're probably feeling at wit's end with your daughter because I see the stress. But as you know, marijuana use, even if it's through gummies, that doesn't work in my home. But daughter, I am willing for us to find better help together if you're willing to. How do you think she'd respond to that kind of firm statement from you, Mary?
Well, that's a good idea.
What do you think she would say to that?
Maybe.
She'd say maybe? Yeah.
Maybe. She might say maybe.
Okay. So I would suggest checking on that willingness as you try to decide, do we have to bring in the authority figures? Because you might have to, because these are very concerning behaviors. But if your daughter is legitimately willing to go get help in the next couple of days and to have an assessment for your granddaughter's level of self-harm, then you might not have to go directly to the route of calling Child Protective Services. But it depends if your daughter's willing to receive that from you.
And if she's not, Alice, what does she do then?
Then, Mary, I would let her know, because you're not willing and you won't let me make an appointment for us to go get help for this. Then I am going to have to get outside help. And you may then, Mary, need to take the next step of warning your daughter. I'm going to have to call in Child Protective Services here because I can't handle this on my own, and I need you to be willing to do this with me. And sometimes even that threat might change your daughter's willingness, but we definitely know your granddaughter needs help very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I like what Alice is saying here to you, Mary. I do think it starts with a conversation. Because, your granddaughter, she's self-harming when she's cutting, right? And so that is a concern.
Yeah.
And so somebody a professional, a healthcare person needs to know that, a physician needs to know that, a counselor, a psychiatrist, someone needs to know that. But I like what Alice is saying is start with a conversation, right? Open up relationship here and just have invite them both. Maybe you start with your daughter first and then you see if you can come up with a way that you can sit with your granddaughter and talk to her, because what Steve was saying earlier on there is it's not that we're designed to try and get rid of all kinds of discomfort and anxiety. Really on the if we had anxiety on one end of a scale, on the opposite end of the scale would actually be confidence, right? The more confidence we have, the less anxiety we have, the more anxiety we have, the less confidence we have. So learning how to manage anxiety is a skill, right? And so having and we learn that through support, right? Reassurance from figures around us, supportive figures around us, and also being able to actually work through whatever the challenge is. And so, I would start with that conversation like Alice is guiding you, and see if you can kind of make some progress there. And then if that doesn't go that way, then, then that's when I think you would then set a boundary and say, listen, well, we need to talk to someone and let someone else know about this. And that, and if you involve, and I would start with, can we call a physician and get her in there? I would start there rather than threatening CPS.
Well, okay. I have maybe it's an attitude approach, but here's what I would do if it was literally me. Here's what I would do. I would say to my daughter, you have to leave here because you knew the rules, you broke the rules. Doesn't matter that you bought it at a health food store or not, you bought it. Then, not only did you have it in my house, you gave it to my granddaughter. Now, she's your daughter, but she's my granddaughter. And a grandmother has a very special role in a granddaughter's life. It's like I'm to be the one to make sure there's protection, there's healing, there's help. Because I'm up here. I'm at a different level than a parent. And when I look down there and I see your parenting, it's a disaster. It's horrible. And so you're going to have to leave, and then I'm going to have to call CPS because you're not raising your daughter right. That's how I would start. And then I would say, well, there's an option here. Maybe we could get some help, and then you wouldn't have to leave. Maybe we could go see a physician to start with. But that's the only situation or scenario that I'm going to be willing for you to stay in this home, or for you to continue to parent the way you're parenting my granddaughter. So it's agreeing with what Alice and Mark said, but it's coming from a strong stance of you've broken the rules. And just like God is full of grace and mercy, well, you're going to have to suffer, or here's what you do to receive my grace and my mercy here. You have to be willing to get better and to do better. That's what I would do, because, I mean, your granddaughter she has a chance here not to repeat the sins of the mother. But it looks like to me she's being trained in the sins of the mother. So that's why I take that strong approach to get to the option.
Mary, does your daughter and granddaughter have health insurance?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, my granddaughter does, but the daughter does not right now.
Okay. Well, yeah. Oftentimes, teens have a lot of anxiety among their social interactions among peers, and so a good way to actually help teens is to put them in groups with other teens. And oftentimes, if you call your health insurance company, they might be able to help direct you to some resources there with local teen groups in your area. And that may be a good option for your granddaughter too. So just wanted you to think about that.
Okay, so here's what we, and especially me, what we're saying is to give a 16-year-old marijuana as a parenting tool is a horrible, horrible thing. If I could think of a better word than horrible, I would use that word, but it's horrible. It's not just it's legal and health food store and all that. And it's against the rules that you set, and I want you to enforce your rules with an option that those rules can be put on hold if there's a willingness to change. And sometimes the only kind of willingness that develops is a willingness to do something because it's the only choice. And that's what I'm hoping that you can do. I'm really sorry that all of this is happening. And but in the end, if nothing better happens, I do think you need to call Child Protective Services, because this child needs protection. Any other comment here, Alice or Mark, before?
Mary, if this feels extremely difficult to implement what we're advising you to do, please let us connect you with a coach, with a counselor, because we can help you. We can help role play how to do this, and then look at all the other elements that would make this a tough conversation to have with an adult daughter.
Yeah, and I think that's a part of healthy living, is to say, I know the right thing, but I just can't do that. Yes. Okay, so I'm going to get some help to do the right thing, versus because I don't feel like I can do that, I'm just not going to do it. The goal is do what needs to be done at the time it needs to be done, no matter how painful it is for you to do it. That's courage, wisdom, and just good common sense all rolled up in one when you've got something like this on your hands. All right, well, I'm really glad that you called. And I want to send you Take Your Life Back, that I think there's some things in there that you could read and you could help your daughter in getting her life back, and thus also help your granddaughter also. 1-800-229-3000. That is the phone number. 1-800-229-3000. Comment, question, whatever you need, we're right here for another hour and 40 minutes. Dr. Alice Benton and Marc Cameron and Steve Arterburn. By the way, Life Recovery is a program, and we have a person, Terry Ward, who's in charge of that program. And we have a special annual event coming up in October where people from all around get together online and hear new talks, new ideas, a refresher or a beginning point of recovery. And if you'd like to be part of that, you can just call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com. Life Recovery. There's a program, TV program, Life Recovery Today, 9:30 on Tuesday on NRB Network.
The Life Recovery Connection Conference is online Saturday, October 7th. The topics addressed aren't just for people with alcohol or drug addictions, but for anyone who wants to move from the pain and the struggles of the past towards a healthier and happier future. Steve Arterburn, Becky Brown, and other experts will present new material on topics like reclaiming your calling, small group best practices, self-care, discipleship, sponsoring and mentoring, understanding and loving an addict or alcoholic, the history of the 12 steps, and much more. Plus, there are interactive breakout groups led by the conference presenters. To register or to find out more about the New Life Recovery Connection Conference, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or visit liferecoverygroups.com. Get help to successfully walk your recovery journey as well as go alongside others in need of help. 1-800-639-5433 or liferecoverygroups.com. Chris Williams on coaching.
Oftentimes I get asked, what is the difference between therapy and coaching? The biggest difference between the two is that a therapist is going to be looking for a diagnosable mental health condition, whereas a coach is going to look at a particular issue and help a person work through that.
If you need a coach, call New Life today and ask about the New Life Coaching Network. Our coaches have been trained and screened with the same intensive process we use for our network counselors.
If you're looking at an issue in your life that you just kind of want to change, whether it be your weight or leadership or other areas of behavioral patterns, check out coaching. There can be some really, really helpful things for you.
Take control of your life and take action to achieve your goals. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433 and talk to us about getting a New Life coach. 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We're back, and let's pray for Mary. I just really hope that she's got the courage to do the right thing. That's the main thing. Let's go to Jenny, Dallas, Texas. Listens on KWRD. Hey, Jenny, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
What's on your mind today?
I'm just wondering why no one suggested that she contact this teenager's school. Due to the pandemic and a lot of the issues that we're seeing, mental health issues with young people these days, the number of counselors and mental health professionals in the school districts is at an all-time high, and there may be help readily available.
The reason it wasn't suggested is that I didn't think of it, and it's a great idea.
Because we needed you to say it, Jenny.
Yeah, it's really good. Thank you for that. It is, in some school districts, their system of counseling and the extra help that they provide is pretty amazing. So, yeah, thank you for that comment, and we'll try to do better.
I can't speak about other states, but I know Texas has been really trying to amp up what we're offering.
Mm-hmm. Good deal. Good deal. Well, thank you for that. I sure appreciate it. And I'll send you the one-year Bible for women. My wife did, just to say thanks for calling with that comment. You know, we do appreciate input like that. It's pretty important to us, so thank you. Really appreciate it. How about we go to John, Boston, Massachusetts. John, how you doing today, and what is on your mind?
Good, Steve. Thank you for taking my call.
Certainly.
Well, I have a I've got a daughter who is engaged to get married next June.
Yeah.
And I have told my daughter, I will support your marriage, but I'm not going to invest in your wedding plans. And to do that, I would like to send them to intimacy and marriage.
Okay.
And so I wanted to get a little bit of a take from you on what happens during that intimacy and marriage weekend. And I had called last week to sign up for them and found out that they have to have at least a minimum of 3 engaged couples, because I guess you do a segment separate from married people.
Right.
And so I'd also like to advocate for other engaged couples. Sign up. So we can
Well, we'll see what we can do about accommodating them. I would love for them to be there. But, we have people come in that are engaged, and we put them in separate rooms from each other. And here's the thing. Before they marry, they come to understand some things that most people never even deal with. Why they were attracted to each other, what it was about the other person that looked so good that might be a problem later on. And so you really get a great foundation. Now, most of everything we do is very positive toward the marriage, but we do deal with the deeper issues where people are together just because of sexual attraction, or one is desperate, all those kinds of things. But when it comes to premarital counseling, I don't know of anything that could be better than sending them and them going. So let's see what we can do to, and anybody else, if you got a engaged couple, we'll give you a special rate so we can fill this engaged group up and get some really good care for these couples.
That would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Do they break out like in individual small groups, like have a large group session with everybody in attendance and then get individual groups? Is that how that kind of works?
Yes. The thing that's different about our workshops, you hear some great content by the person that does the Every Man's Battle workshop and another person who does the Restore workshop. You hear this content, then you go into the small group. And there you work on the issues that were presented, and it is just astounding. Well, Alice, you've facilitated for a while. What do you say?
John, what we learn at that weekend is everything I wish I had known prior. And even with a graduate education, I hadn't learned what was taught at intimacy in marriage. Because bottom line, John, it helps us to accept that we all come into the marriage with our own mess. And we're either going to exacerbate each other's mess, or we're going to figure out how to help each other clean it up, clear it up, and be even stronger, having known what that mess was. But we're rarely taught that. So I think it's a fabulous gift that you're giving to her daughter and her fiance.
Yep.
Well, thank you.
Mark, you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's a great idea, John. What a thoughtful gift. I mean, research shows that couples that do even just a few sessions of premarital counseling have better outcomes, less divorces. And I think what's different about doing intimacy in marriage for something like that is a lot of premarital counseling focuses on kind of surface level things of that people aren't really ready for yet. They're not really thought through things like, well, what's your parenting style going to be? How many kids do you want to have, right? And couples who are in the engaged stage oftentimes are just looking at how similar they are. And intimacy in marriage, we're looking at the differences and how do we work through differences and challenges and helping them to see down the road. And so I think it's a great idea to send them there.
And then if you're a married couple, you go and you see things, but then you start to work on how do we make this work. And you are really willing, I mean, it's the willingness to give up some old ways of being and connecting and being in relationship. It's phenomenal how willing people are. And then, we see people that came hating each other leave saying, this is the best it's ever been. And then we follow up, and it stays really great. It's our intensive for marriage.
For most of my life I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back, and John, let me send you Every Man's Bible, just thanking you for wanting to sponsor your daughter and the future son-in-law. Pretty amazing that you want to do that, and hopefully we can make that work for you. And anybody else, especially, we want to fill that group up so we can all make it work. If you've got an engaged couple, we figure out how to help them, whatever brought them together. And it's really an invaluable experience for them there. Now, speaking of invaluable, Larry Sonnenberg is probably the most invaluable person we've had for the past 20 years. And Larry, what do you have for us today?
Well, there's a lot going on, Steve, and I think the first thing I want to talk about is the Every Man's Battle Workshop coming up first weekend here in October. And it's right here in Orange County. And it's such a valuable time. It's hard to imagine. But we had a counselor in our network, and she had the opportunity to, counsel a young couple. They were having marital problems, newlyweds. And the couple abruptly left the therapy because she had identified the husband had sexual addiction, told him he needed to attend Every Man's Battle. She didn't see much hope, and then, fast forward a couple of years, and the wife's mother called her. She was also a client at one time, and she said, "Oh, by the way, you saved their marriage." She said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Your son-in-law couldn't. My son-in-law couldn't handle your advice at the time, but he ended up attending Every Man's Battle, and it changed his life." He's been in counseling since then, having regular accountability, their marriage thriving. They've had a child, and her mother said, "I just got back from my granddaughter's birthday party." So,
that's why we come to work every day. That's what it's all about, transformation.
And it's about planting seeds. That therapist didn't know what happened, but she stood up and said, "This is what you need to do."
Yeah.
And the more people do that, the better off life is going to be for everybody.
Wives, I hope that's an encouragement to you, too, because you've probably asked your husband already, would you go to Every Man's Battle? And maybe you think, I've asked already too many times, enough times. He's not going to ever do it. But you never know on which occasion the Holy Spirit might move in him sufficiently that he takes you up on it.
And I remember one lady saying, the way I asked my husband is I put a note on his pillow. every man's battle, such and such a date in such and such a city. And she said the note disappeared and nothing happened. And a couple of weeks later, she did the same thing. The note disappeared and he registered for the workshop. And so,
That's so good.
There's some ladies really hit it head on. Others are very soft and gentle.
Yeah.
And who knows how the Spirit's going to work. But it's a great workshop, and it's a great location, and please come to that and encourage those of you who know somebody who needs it to come to this.
Well,
And-
if you've read anything I've written, you know, I've been there. I know that shame that's there, and I know what's on the other side, and I know what's on the shame side. And you can do this. You can get out of that and move toward a side of freedom and really some great hope and connection in a different way. You can do it.
And Steve, the other thing is we have a matching gift going on right now.
Right. Yep.
And it's $361,000. And with the morning mail, we're going to be right at $100,000 of that. So we have a ways to go, but we need more help. And I was just looking at a list, and we have a lot of people that gave in 2021, and last year they weren't able to or didn't give for whatever reason. And I think I might be calling some of those folks today to just say, hey, any chance you could remember us this year and do it now with that gift? And my pastor this week was encouraging the congregation to raise money for a project, a missionary project, and I loved the way he did it. He simply said, I'm going to ask you to go home and pray about this, and then just do what God says.
Yeah.
So I would ask you to do the same thing. Pray about this and see what God says. And if he says yes, you need to act on it. So if you would.
You know, yeah, it could change everything for you and for us. You know, when Max was on last week, Max Lucado, he was just saying there aren't other ministries like this dealing with these tough things, and there aren't. And so we want to continue to be with you every single day. So help us with that matching gift if you can.
And thank you, everybody who is. God bless you for
Amen.
that.
Yeah. Thanks, Larry. Appreciate you, and thanks for coming in. And let's go back to our callers at 1-800-229-3000. 1-800-229-3000. And this is from Timothy, Louisville, Kentucky. Hey, Timothy, how are you?
Pretty good. I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
I'm struggling in my faith right now with how to share my testimony of faith in a way that doesn't trigger or push people away, but still allows the full power to come through.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So
I was wanting
yeah, you were what?
Wanting advice on how I should articulate my testimony.
Okay. Well, you know, there's a great little saying. It says, be sure and share Christ with others. And if you have to use words, be sure they're great and wonderful and helpful. So I do think that your life is the best sharing of your testimony. To be engaged with somebody rather than just like hit and miss or dive bomb and then you're out of there. So the people seeing you live Christ, I think that's the ultimate. What are your thoughts, Mark? And Alice, what do you think?
So Timothy, can you tell us what is your testimony and how might you think that that's pushing people away?
Well, for one thing, I grew up in church, but I fell into a seriously abusive situation as a preteen and teenager. I got saved when the abuse ended. I turned and sin to drugs to numb the pain from the abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting in the woods one day by myself, and I heard what I believe to this day was God talking to me.
And what did you hear?
You're my beloved child. If you push down on the plunger of the needle, you will die. Your heart will explode. I had a suicide cocktail in my right arm. in vain. I looked around when I started hearing the voice. I looked around for someone, didn't see anyone. And then I looked at the needle, which was in my right arm. Noticed there was a rock that was not there prior that had serrated edge on top. Dropped the needle on the rock from about 6 inches, and it literally exploded into a million pieces. Then staggered off in the woods. I'd already used heroin at that point, so I collapsed from an overdose, was found non-responsive, and revived. That was at age 18. I'm now 39. I've been completely clean without any cravings since that day.
I mean, it is believable. What have you done with that story and with your life? Have you reached out to other people or what?
Well, I'm a little nervous to reach out to people because of the fact that God spoke directly to me. He doesn't always speak in audible ways to everyone.
Right. But
and I don't want to come off the pressure when I tell testimony.
Yeah, but it does seem like you're one of those rare instances where God does intervene directly, and here you are. And so I think it is good to share it and to share that, this isn't the way God deals with everyone. And many people that he didn't deal with in that way, they're experiencing a miracle that wasn't instant. It took a little bit of time, year, 2 years, whatever, for them to experience that miracle. Alice, Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, and so Tim, what I would say is go to an addiction recovery group and share your testimony there. And I think it will be impactful because you'll find that others are experiencing probably similar feelings that you felt, and I'm sure that there will be other people there too who maybe have little interactions or people speaking into their lives or circumstances that happen to them that they might be able to relate to that if I had just gone here, then something bad would have happened, or I feel like there's someone in my life who's calling me over here, and I think that's the healthy way to go. So I think people will connect to that.
It's mysterious why he does that at one time and someone else another. Well, I really appreciate you sharing this with us. I hope that we've helped encourage you to share with others. I'll send you a Life Recovery Bible. We'll be back after this, 1-800-229-3000.
My husband was involved with pornography addiction.
He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict. There were strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is coming to Washington, D.C. November 3rd through the 5th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
I've been listening to New Life for many years, gone to a few workshops. I want to support a ministry that helps people connect with God and with others and gives them the tools to help transform their lives.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Healing, 100 Days from Freedom from Shame, and 100 Days of Freedom from Anger. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
We are back. I want to remind you, if you're a member of Club New Life, we're doing our New Life Zoom October the 12th, and it's going to be a good one. I hope you'll join us. And if you're not a member of Club New Life, $35 a month, and you get benefits from that. But the greatest benefit is that anytime you hear somebody got better or well or transformed, you were part of it. So that's on October the 12th. Also, anytime you miss radio, you can get caught up with our New Life app or newlife.com. You can watch us on the YouTube channel we have. You can subscribe to us as a podcast on your podcast provider. And then Every Man's Battle, October the 6th. Life Recovery, our conference, annual conference, is October the 7th. And Intimacy and Marriage, which we talked about, in Dallas, and that is going to be October the 20th. All right, let's go back to the phones, and let's go to, how about we go to Janet? Hello, Janet. How are you today? Oh, are you there? Not there. Well, we're sorry. Let's go talk to David from Santa Barbara, California. Let's see if we can get David on the line here. Hi, David. How are you? Oh, I think I just cut David off. Well, maybe both of them will call back. Our number, 1-800. Alice, were you about to say something there?
Yeah, finish the number and I'll add it in.
1-800-229-3000. 1-800-229-3000 is our phone number.
I want to take the chance to comment on Timothy's call, because folks, whether you're perhaps in the midst of addiction still and you haven't broken out of it into sobriety like Timothy did, or you think of a family member who's in that struggle of addiction and you're not sure what to do, where can they hear a story like Timothy's and be inspired by him and inspired by what God can do? And Steve, it made me think of speaker meetings. If you've ever had the opportunity to go to a speaker meeting, you get to hear stories of people who are heroes and they're salt of the earth. And what you see in the power of their stories is that people's tale of weakness that God saved them from, or addiction that God broke them out of, that's so inspiring to others who are struggling with addiction. And the sponsor programs, whether it's through our own New Life Recovery groups where you learn these things, where you get to hear these stories, or from speaker meetings, breakthrough can happen when you're inspired by a story like Timothy's.
Yep, and relapse is part of so many addictions that we have, that you can just be doing great and things happen and you relapse. Well, it's kind of shameful to admit it, and it's hard to admit it, but when you admit it, you get back on that track to freedom and character growth. And that really is what recovery is all about. It's growth, it's steps to grow. And maybe you have a different growth plan than the 12 steps. Well, follow that and do it. But 12 steps, they're tried and true. And I think one of the most powerful things that make it that way is when you make it right with other people. You finally say, maybe it's not enough for me to just say I'm sorry. Maybe I have to do some work to make amends and make it right. I think we've got time for one final caller here. The others, I'll get you on the next program we're going to do if you hold on. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm okay.
What's going on in your life?
My wife left 2 weeks ago today. I had a failed suicide attempt that Tuesday, which would be another 2 weeks. And to say anything other than I'm completely changed doesn't matter, but where can I find some kind of strength and help through all this? Because I'm 64 years old, and I got to tell you, brother man, I've never been I ain't never been tore down like this before in my life.
Oh, boy. I hear that pain, and I'm really glad you called. What does she say is the reason for leaving? Can you share that with us?
Yeah, I had a discussion with her. I said, on Sunday night, I said, you and I are going to change things, and you're going to like it. We're going to be so inseparable that young girls are going to slap their boyfriend and say, that's what I want. You and I are not going to be living in the same house where we just go through and pass each other in the hallways and have that kind of relationship no more. You and I are going to have it. And 2 days later,
Charlie, pardon me interrupting. We're coming short on time. What was the problem for which your wife left?
She just said, I ain't doing it. I'm not putting that kind of effort in it. No, I'm not.
And hearing that your heart was so broken, you had a suicide attempt. Are you still suicidal? Are you struggling against that still today?
I struggle with it, yes, I do.
Oh. Charlie, would you consider going inpatient, going into a hospital to get that high level of help you need to both get your life safeguarded and then get you with the right counseling? No?
I'm fine on that. I already sold all my guns. All of them.
You sold your guns to protect yourself from attempting again?
No, I sold all my guns because she left me with a ton of bills, but that's a different story.
So, Charlie, here's what I would say to you, because we're really short on time here. I would say start to focus on you here. Sometimes, it's hard to watch a loved one go through pain and struggle. And so I'm sure your wife right now is probably dealing with a whole host of her own stuff. And so what I would say, and I often say this to people, it takes two healthy people to have a healthy relationship, right? You can't take two unhealthy people, put them together and expect them to have a healthy relationship. So what I would say to you is focus on you. And I think the best way to do that is to get in with a counselor. Get in with some people who can help you into whether that's a recovery group, and maybe, as Alice is suggesting here, just having some oversight of some medical care too. Oftentimes when people attempt suicide, they do need to maybe have a time where they follow up with a psychiatrist to make sure that if it's depression or something like that is managed well. So that's where I would encourage you here.
Yeah, I am so sorry that this is happening and that you felt so desperate. But there's great hope. Sometimes when you just humble down and you go back and say, I wish I had said that differently, or I wish I had focused on things I need to change so that we could have that kind of relationship in the home. All sorts of things that you can do when it's about you, what you did, how you handled it. You just never know. There still may be hope there. And I want to try to connect you with somebody that really could, a counselor, a coach, someone that could help you get through this. Just hold on and we'll do that for you. If you want to join us, we're going to be here for another hour. 1-800-229-3000. And one of the greatest honors of my life is that you would call and let us help you. Let us give you a shot, or give us a shot at helping you resolve something or begin the process or help you help others. And that number is 1-800-229-3000 for the next hour. If you need any kind of help or want to sign up for one of the workshops, 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We love you. I appreciate you, Alice. Appreciate you, Mark. See you next time.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again tomorrow for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.